Friends, Namaste and welcome to our Sunday edition of Gyan Ganga. On your social media leading the program every Sunday, 150th episode. As last week, we had the 149th episode on Russia and Ukraine, which was part 2 of our discussion. And I am happy to inform you that we had a combined viewership of 93,619, and the viewership is still going on because our programs are available on YouTube and other channels which you can watch at leisure. So all our past episodes are available on YouTube. You can always go and watch it. Today, after the election results of the 10th of March, where 5 state assemblies went for elections, we have the results all known to you. So today we will be discussing with Dr. Sawmy and our team the implications of the 5 state election results on the 2024 LOKSABHA elections. So I have to thank my co-host Professor Arvind Chaturvedi from Delhi and Ramesh Swamy, and our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Tejas Navalgul, Swaminathan, Ishwar Iyer, Rakesh Gadgi, Ajesh Nair and Vishal Mehta for their support and cooperation for putting this Sunday program together. So without wasting much time, I will now ask Dr. Sawmy, our president of VIRAT Hindustan Sangham, to please start the discussion on the implication of these election results for 2024 Lok Sabha elections, and then we will have a discussion. A lot of viewers have been requesting to have large part of our discussion in Hindi also, and I am sure Professor Arvind Chaturvedi will do justice to this demand today, and we will start our discussion. Over to Dr. Sawmy.
Thank you very much, Jagdish. First of all, I'd like to say that this is election that has attracted the attention of the country because UP has always been a very important state. It's got a large number of MPs in parliament. It's a great one in creating atmosphere in the emergency. The people of Uttar Pradesh even defeated Indira Gandhi and her son, which was never foreseen by anybody. And so, and of course, it's Ram Janmabhoomi, Krishna Janmabhoomi, all the great, many great saints and so on. So Uttar Pradesh is a desire of almost every political party to do well. Of course, you may have noticed that towards the nearer the around the first week of March, I had put out a Twitter saying that in Uttar Pradesh we are going to win, which is something which very few media and so on were saying in the beginning. And the reason I based it on is the analysis, which I'm sure Arvind will give in much greater detail. Broadly speaking, both Adityanath, the Chief Minister, and Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, have contributed to our victory in 2 different planes. In the case of Adityanath, whatever else he did not do, but he certainly restored law and order as a normal expectation, which is the normal expectation that people have. During the previous tenures, particularly before 2017, the people were, women in particular, were very upset that they could even not go even to the to toilets without being afraid that they may be kidnapped, they may be raped, and so on and so forth. A real fear. And I think this is where I think whether Arvind agrees or not, he should tell us. But I think the Sapa leader, he is a young chap, but unfortunately he gave so many criminals, well-known criminals, rioters, anti-Hindu people, so on, tickets, and that whole glamour. This is a new fellow has gone. And there was also one other factor I noticed: people who phoned me up or talked to me or met me in Delhi, that they were saying that we gave everybody else 2-3 chances at chief ministership, and then only changed them. And in the case of Yogi, we have so far he has only one chance, and he has done on law and order. He has done extremely well, and that was across the board. In case of Modi, all his programs on women and Sauchalya and all these things may look not so romantic in clubs and in public debates, but it's something that touched the women, and women turnout was tremendous. I mean, I think perhaps in the last 30-40 years there hasn't been such a big turnout of women. They came and voted for us. So these are some of the things that happened. Now, before I hand over to Arvind, let me just say one thing, that BJP has now become a party which has got has won elections and formed state governments in north, east, south, west. It's now emerged as perhaps the only vibrant national party, and that is a great thing. And at the same time, Congress party is vanishing. And the BJP has a distinctive ideology, the ideology on Hindutva. This ideology is now accepted by a very large majority of the country. So I mean, I think my projection is that BJP is going to last very long. Congress lasted almost from 1952 up till 1977, except a few months here and there of the Sambit Sarkars and so on. But Congress has been ruling for such a long time, and I think now it appears that because the Congress ideology of socialism and Garibi Hatao all has been junked, now people want national unity. They want Virat Hindutva, not necessarily Hindu, but the qualities of Hindus. So these are things which the package which BJP has now established. That and the most important thing is that BJP is not based on any one family or one leader and so on and so forth. And its Karyakartas are come from a variety of Parivar organizations, and particularly the RSS, which has made a very big difference in this election. So I would say that ideologically, there is no alternative to BJP today. And that was so in Congress time also, and there was no alternative to the ideology of their socialism and secularism and so on. So much so that when BJP was formed, we also adopted socialism. We called it Gandhian socialism, and they perhaps called it Indira Gandhi socialism, but Congress. But we also said socialism, and of course we were a miserable failure in 1984, and then slowly it got rejected, and Ram Janmabhoomi movement and all changed the focus. So I would say there is today no alternative to BJP ideologically. And I don't think that socialism, secularism, all this is ever going to work for at least 25, 30 years, because people are fed up with it. So it has to be a challenge, but cannot be by wearing Janeo or claiming to wear a Janeo. You can't become Hindutva. It has to be a articulation of a different kind of Hindutva, which will say we are in this, we are different. That unless that challenge comes, I think my opinion is BJP is in for at least another 20 years without difficulty, and I think these elections have established it. I would, however, like to say that the most dangerous aspect of these 5 elections has been the victory of AAP party in Punjab, because the AAP party has no patriotism at all. I mean, they are all camouflaged. They talk about poor and all that, but I think in Punjab, a party like Aam Party coming to government, I think it's not acceptable, and we have to see how we deal with this so that they don't poison it to the point where Punjab becomes unmanageable. So with these remarks, we'd like to hear our expert who has been tweeting to us regularly about the numbers. So ask him how he sees this whole election and where it's going to take us. Over to
Before Arvind Chaturvedi starts, for the benefit of the viewers, I would like to say that Arvind Chaturvedi has been specializing in statistics, and you may not know that in the 1984 Lok Sabha elections, which took place around December in 1984, he had done a special, what was then not known, was an exit poll or a survey which was published. I am sure he will explain to you the background and give you some of the background in our talk today. So it's over to Arvind Chaturvedi, and thank you, Dr. Sawmy, for that introductory note. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagdish ji. Thank you, Dr. Sawmy. Before I give my major observations and the data which I have gathered, let me just comment on what Dr. Sawmy said about the ticket distribution by Akhilesh, Samajwadi Party. Dr. Sawmy mentioned about the mafias or Bahubalis being given the tickets, but I have seen, in fact, I have observed, contrary to this, Akhilesh tried to avoid giving tickets to mafia in his party except for 2 cases. One was the son of Mukhtar Ansari. Mukhtar Ansari, the known mafia, he was not given ticket, but his son was given the ticket from the same constituency which Mukhtar Ansari used to contest from jail. That is Mau Sadar, number 1. Number 2, he also gave one seat to Nahid Hassan in Kairana. And this Kairana is famous or famously utilized by Yogi Adityanath to say that Palayan, in fact, even 2017, this Palayan, that migration of Hindus from that constituency was an issue. And Hukum Singh, who was the MP at that time from that area, Muzaffarnagar, he countered that. Then his daughter, Mriganga Singh, was given the ticket in the by-election. She lost. Even in this election, Nahid Hassan was given ticket from Samajwadi Party and he won. So then otherwise, Akhilesh did not allow Raghuraj Pratap Singh Raja Bhaiya to come near his party, though Raja Bhaiya wanted to come. And his comment was very famous, who is Raja Bhaiya? And Raja Bhaiya, of course, won. Not only he won himself, but he also got one more seat. So 2 seats of his party called Jan Satta Party.
One short interruption.
Yes.
You see, there is a saying that Nimbu ka ek boond ghada, the doodh bhara ghada ko kharab kar dega. That whole image of that those 2 had an impact. That's what he's all about.
Yes, I know. In fact, these 2 candidates, Abbas Ansari and Nahid Hassan, they also made comments during the campaign, which were actually very controversial comments. And Abbas Ansari even said that in my constituency, no officer will be transferred for 6 years after Akhilesh government comes, because first of all, I will take the account of 5 years from these officers, then only they will be allowed to do a transfer. I mean, these kind of things, of course. But let me just tell you one more thing before I give my own observation. 63 Muslim candidates were fielded by Akhilesh Samajwadi Party. less than Bahujan Samaj Party and Congress. Bahujan Samaj Party gave tickets to 87 Muslims and Congress gave tickets to 75 Muslims. None of them won, of course. But in Akhilesh's case, Samajwadi Party's case, the strike rate was highest among the Muslim candidates. 31 candidates from his party and 3 candidates from his alliance. That is 34 Muslim MLAs have come in this assembly for the first time, and as compared to last assembly, which was only 25 Muslim MLAs. And strike rate was highest because it was more than 50%, whereas overall striking rate of Akhilesh's party was just about 32%. And the number of candidates fielded as compared to number of candidates succeeded. Okay, that apart. Now I'm coming to the major observations of these elections in 5 states. First of all, it is for the first time we have seen, when we have elections in more than one state, pro-incumbency won. It was always, we used to discuss whether it is media or whether it is experts, the anti-incumbency factor. But this time, BJP insisted in the campaign, a large part of the campaign was, since we have done work in Uttarakhand, in Uttar Pradesh, of course they claimed in Goa as well, and Manipur, and in all the 4 states, BJP repeated the performance by winning the majority. Not only that, BJP also increased the vote share. It is very rare. In Uttar Pradesh, for example, it is after 37 years that a sitting chief minister has been voted to power. It's only Narayan Dutt Tiwari in 1987. He was the chief minister and his party won. Of course, he did not last for a full term. He lasted for just 1 year or something. But this Yogi lasted for 5 years, and after 5 years, he's returned with, of course, reduced majority. Last time they had 325 seats with the alliance and 312 seats for the BJP alone. This time, the number of seats have been reduced, but the number of votes have increased. That means percentage of votes has gone up. And of course, if you compare the 2019 LOKSABHA election, the performance is slightly lower. In Lok Sabha elections, BJP touched almost 50% in Uttar Pradesh, and in now it is just about 41%, slightly higher than 41%. So the number of votes, percentage of votes as compared to last assembly election is more, but compared to last Lok Sabha election is less. So number one is the pro-incumbency. Then the record of 35 years beaten, and the third is, in this election in all the 5 states, the number of chief ministers and number of ex-chief ministers who have been defeated is highest. Never has been seen in Punjab, for example. Badal, Sukhbir Singh Badal as well as Prakash Singh Badal lost. Channi, who was the sitting chief minister, lost from 2 constituencies. And Amarinder Singh, who was the former chief minister, he also lost. In Goa, 2 former chief ministers lost. Of course, sitting chief minister returned with Pramod Sawant won, but 2 chief. In Uttarakhand, 1 ex-chief minister, Harish Rawat, lost, and 1 sitting chief minister, Dhami, lost, though his party won with a even more number of seats. So this is also one very interesting thing. Third is, the people used to relate the turnout with the outcome. This time, the turnout throughout all the 5 states, by and large, was lesser as compared to the previous elections. But this turnout, normally people say, if the turnout is more, it is for a change. And maybe it is established that if the turnout is less, it is to retain that power. People were giving comments about which particular section voted more, which particular section did not come out to vote, and so on and so forth. But overall, now one more thing, very important thing, in fact, Dr. Sawmy mentioned about the women, and I have seen across all the 5 states, women voters outnumbered the men voters, all the 5 states. And the difference was significant, even 5 to 6% more in case of women voters. And therefore, maybe one can say that the women voters, when they vote in larger numbers, maybe they vote in favor of the existing incumbent and not to remove the existing incumbent. Then I already mentioned about Bahubalis. Many Bahubalis in Uttar Pradesh lost, and this credit goes to the public of Uttar Pradesh. There are not many Bahubalis in Uttarakhand or Punjab, at least as far as the media is concerned. But UP, whether they were BJP people or whether they were from other parties, Vijay Mishra, who was expelled from BJP in Gyanpur, the Varanasi district, he lost. Malhani, in fact, this is across the caste also. A Thakur Bahubali or a Brahmin Bahubali or a OBC Bahubali. Bahubalis, except Raghuraj Singh and Abbas Ansari, the others have lost. Yash Badr Singh in Nisoli, he lost. Aman Mani Tripathi, whose father was also Bahubali. Amar Mani Tripathi, of course, father was not there. His son contested. He is also accused of murders and other things. He lost. So one very important thing is that Bahubalis were given a lesson by the voters. Now, Dr. Sawmy mentioned about UP. Let me just say few observations which I have noted with the help of some empirical evidence also. First of all, one very good symptom, or I saw one very silver lining in this voting pattern, was that castes had lesser role to play. In fact, whether the ticket distribution of BJP, Congress, BSP, SP or any other party in UP or any other state, normally it is done based on caste. And entire media analysis or expert analysis or opinion poll analysis or exit poll analysis, they all relate to the caste. This time I have noted, and as I said, with empirical evidence, even of the post-poll surveys have shown that caste role has been reduced to a large extent. Let me tell you one example. In Western UP, for example, it was said that Jats are against BJP because of the farmers' movement, and they have forgotten the Muzaffarnagar riots, and therefore Jats and Muslim combination is going to help Samajwadi Party. In fact, first phase, second phase, and to some extent third phase, these are all part of coming from Western UP. Western UP in the first phase and second phase together, where Jats dominated, BJP won 40 seats out of 71 seats. And it was expected. In fact, even media was saying that Jats and Muslim combination will sweep Western UP and therefore Akhilesh will come back to power, which did not happen. Number one. Number two, one very, very significant pattern this time among the scheduled castes. Bahujan Samaj Party, which even in the case of 2017 or 2019 in the Lok Sabha, they had minimum percentage of votes they used to get is about 20, 21%, 22% votes. This time, Bahujan Samaj Party's vote share was reduced to 11%. Who are these 11% who did not vote Mayawati? Normally, it was said that Mayawati commands the support of the Jatavs, especially Jatavs of Uttar Pradesh, and of course there were a large number of non-Jatavs also. So both Jatavs and non-Jatavs this time have ditched the Bahujan Samaj Party and voted for BJP as well as SP. Now let me tell you some statistics from the post-poll survey which has been done by CSGS. According to this survey, the Jatavs gave only 13% votes to BJP in 17 election, and 5 years BJP got 21% Jatav votes. That is from BSP. And similarly, the BSP, who used to command majority in 2017 election, they had 87% Jatavs vote, and this time it was reduced to 65% only. That means 21 percentage point downfall in Bahujan Samaj Party's votes from the traditional caste base. And what about non-Jatav scheduled caste? Same thing happened in non-Jatav scheduled caste. BJP had only 32% share in 2017 election. After 5 years, this time they got 9% higher. So BJP has got good votes among the scheduled caste voters. That is why the percentage of BJP has gone up. Despite there is a dent in some pockets, but scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, both Jatavs and non-Jatavs, they have got. Similarly, OBCs. OBCs, normally people used to say that, Akhilesh is doing a social engineering, and not only Yadavs but even non-Yadavs like Swami Prasad Maurya came to his party, Tara Singh Chauhan came to his party, Dharampal Saini came to his party. These are all non-Yadav OBCs. So he said Yadav plus these people now they have come from BJP. So the Yadav and non-Yadav will help Akhilesh reach the power. No, it did not happen. So even Swami Prasad Maurya himself lost by significant number, I think 14,000 votes or some such thing. So this non-Yadav OBC also BJP has gained. Credit must go to Yogi for consolidation of the votes, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. Of course, there are not too many scheduled tribes in Uttar Pradesh, but all kinds of scheduled castes and all kinds of OBCs, including Yadav Belt. Yadav Belt was the third phase of the UP election. And it was expected that Akhilesh Yadav will sweep. Of course, he himself won by about 65,000 votes in Karhal, Manpuri, which is not very large number. Given the fact that it is dominated by Yadavs, 175,000 Yadavs are there in that constituency, but he won only by 65,000 votes. So, as Shivpal Yadav won, he won a large number of Yadav seats, but they were the dent by BJP, even in the hotbed of Yadav, Kannauj, which was represented by Akhilesh's wife Dimple Yadav in Lok Sabha 2 terms. In the Kannauj also, BJP has made a dent and BJP has won. Even the retired the commissioner of Kanpur, Asim Arun, he won from Kannauj. So
I mean, they just, if you can briefly summarize this even in Hindi also, so it will be good for the...
Yeah, now मैं बताता हूँ आपको सबसे बड़ी बात, शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट, शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब और ओबीसी, इनके अतिरिक्त जो बहुत बड़ा लाभ भारतीय जनता पार्टी को मिला, क्योंकि चुनाव के समय ये कहा जा रहा था कि उत्तर प्रदेश में ब्राह्मण योगी जी से नाराज हैं, क्योंकि योगी जी को कहा जा रहा था कि उन्होंने ठाकुरों का बहुत समर्थन किया है और ब्राह्मणों को हर वक्त किसी न किसी बहाने उन्होंने उनको बढ़ाने से रोका है। लेकिन इस चुनाव ने ये भी मिथ साबित कर दिया, ब्राह्मणों में अगर संख्या देखी जाए तो 89% ब्राह्मण, अकॉर्डिंग जो पोस्ट पोल हुआ है चुनाव के बाद, ये चुनाव की मतगणना के पहले हुआ था इसका, उन्होंने बताया कि 89%, लगभग 90% ब्राह्मणों ने इस बार योगी को वोट। और चिल्लूपार एक विधानसभा है जहां से ब्राह्मणों के बहुत बड़े नेता हैं, हरिशंकर तिवारी जो लगातार 7 इलेक्शन से जीतते आ रहे थे। पिछली बार उनके बेटे विनय शंकर तिवारी जीते बहुजन समाज पार्टी की टिकट पे, इस बार चिल्लूपार में भी बीजेपी जीत गई। तो ये जो मिथ बहुत बड़ा क्रिएट हुआ था कि ब्राह्मण भारतीय जनता पार्टी के खिलाफ हैं, ये भी बहुत बड़ा एक गलत तथ्य साबित हुआ। तो कटिंग अक्रॉस द लाइन, जाति बिल्कुल टूटी है, लेकिन एक बहुत बड़ा फायदा बीजेपी को जो हुआ है जातियों के टूटने से, हिंदुत्व एक हुआ, हिंदू के नाम पे वो एकत्र हुए हैं, कास्ट को उन्होंने, जाति को उन्होंने छोड़ दिया है। और हिंदू को जो एकत्र हुए हैं उसमें मैं आपको अगर आंकड़े दूं तो मेरे पास आंकड़े हैं कि पिछली बार लोग विधानसभा चुनाव में 47% हिंदुओं ने बीजेपी को वोट दिया था, इस बार 54% हिंदुओं ने बीजेपी को वोट दिया। पिछली बार अफकोर्स अखिलेश को भी इसका फायदा हुआ है, क्योंकि बहुजन समाज पार्टी का हिंदू मत टूटा है जाति के टूटने से। तो अखिलेश को जो 18% हिंदू वोट मिला था, इस बार 26% हिंदू वोट मिला है। लेकिन मुस्लिम वोट बीजेपी को जो कहते हैं कभी नहीं मिलता, बीजेपी का मुस्लिम वोट भी इस चुनाव में बढ़ा है। पिछले चुनाव में मुस्लिम वोट 5% मिला था, इस बार 8%, 3% वोट बीजेपी का मुस्लिम में बढ़ा है। और समाजवादी पार्टी का भी बढ़ा है, क्योंकि समाजवादी पार्टी में कंसोलिडेशन था। जैसे हम चुनाव चर्चा के पहले बात कर रहे थे, असदुद्दीन ओवैसी की पार्टी इत्तेहादुल मुसलमीन, पूरा चुनाव उन्होंने मुस्लिम एकता के नाम पे लड़ा, लेकिन मुसलमानों ने उनको नकार दिया। हाँ, ये जरूर है कि मुसलमानों ने बड़ी संख्या में, लगभग 80% मुसलमानों ने समाजवादी पार्टी को वोट दिया, लेकिन बीजेपी के साथ भी 3% मुसलमान इस बार ज्यादा आए। और ये मुसलमान कहाँ से आए? बहुजन समाज पार्टी से आए। पिछले चुनाव में 19% बहुजन समाज पार्टी के पास गए थे, इस बार 6%, 13% मुसलमान वोट शिफ्ट हुआ है बीएसपी से। और कांग्रेस के पास भी 19% मुसलमान वोट था पिछले चुनाव में, इस बार सिर्फ 3% वोट। जबकि मुस्लिम कैंडिडेट जो थे, कांग्रेस ने 75 कैंडिडेट दिए, 75 कैंडिडेट, और बहुजन समाज पार्टी ने 85 कैंडिडेट दिए, कोई भी कैंडिडेट नहीं जीता। इनफैक्ट 97% कैंडिडेट्स की जमानत जब्त हो गई, 97%। और यही बात असदुद्दीन ओवैसी के मामले में भी है। तो उन्होंने बहुत कैंपेन की, मुसलमानों को एक करने के लिए बहुत बड़ा, मीडिया ने भी काफी उनको उछाला, और ये भी बीजेपी को बताया गया कि डर है शायद मुसलमान वोट अगर बढ़ गया तो समाजवादी पार्टी को लाभ नहीं मिलेगा, बीजेपी को लाभ मिलेगा। जो भी हो, लेकिन फिलहाल बीजेपी का वोट, चाहे वो हिंदूज हों, मुस्लिम्स हों, अनुसूचित जाति हो, ओबीसी हो, ब्राह्मण्स हों, सभी कास्ट में बीजेपी का वोट बेस बढ़ा है। पूरा श्रेय इसका योगी को जाना चाहिए। तीसरी बात जो मैं बताना चाहता हूँ वो महिला वोटरों का है। मैंने बताया कि महिला वोटरों की संख्या बहुत बड़ी है, और एक सबसे बड़ी जो महिला के बहाने एक नई कैटेगरी इस चुनाव में देखने को मिली, वो कैटेगरी थी, हिंदी में इसको लाभार्थी कहा गया है। लाभार्थी मतलब बेनिफिशियरीज, दोज पीपल हु वर बेनिफिटेड बाय द स्कीम्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट। एंड विच आर दीज स्कीम्स? किसान सम्मान निधि, जो 6,000 रुपया किसान परिवारों को जा रहा है, किसान सम्मान निधि, और उज्ज्वला निधि, उज्ज्वला योजना जो गैस सिलेंडर के लिए थी, शौचालय, जो गांव-गांव में, घर-घर में जो शौचालय बनाए गए, ये स्कीम मीडिया ने एक जमाने में कहा था कि नहीं, इतना नहीं हो रहा जितना प्रचार किया जा रहा है, लेकिन चुनाव के नतीजे ये बताते हैं बिल्कुल स्पष्ट तरीके से कि ये जो लाभार्थी वर्ग है, और फिर फ्री राशन, सबसे बड़ा जो था फ्री राशन 2020 में जब कोरोना का आगमन हुआ 2020 में अप्रैल में, तब फ्री राशन बंटना शुरू हुआ था, और योगी जी ने इसको लगातार बनाए रखा, अभी भी बना हुआ है। और लोग कहते हैं कि उनके घर में 2 थैले मिलते हैं, एक थैला केंद्र सरकार से आता है जिस पे मोदी का फोटो होता है, और दूसरा थैला उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार से आता है जिसका योगी का फोटो। और जो सबसे बड़ी बात इस चुनाव में एक नारे के रूप में कही गई, MY कहा जाता था कि लालू प्रसाद ने शुरू किया था बिहार में, मुस्लिम और यादव, और MY अखिलेश ने भी अपना लिया, मुस्लिम और यादव। लेकिन यहाँ पे दूसरा MY जो काम कर रहा था वो था मोदी और योगी। ये MY कॉम्बिनेशन अखिलेश के MY कॉम्बिनेशन से आगे हो गया। और तीसरा एक MY कॉम्बिनेशन और था जो प्रियंका वाड्रा लेकर आई थी, वो थी महिला और युवा। तो प्रियंका कहीं नहीं है, 209 रैली उन्होंने की, 209 रैलीज in Uttar Pradesh, and she got only 1 seat. Sorry, 2 seats.
Two. And
2 seats.
And 97% deposit जमानत जब्त।
और रायबरेली में सब हारे, अमेठी में सब हारे। जो एक सीट उनको मिली है वो है प्रमोद तिवारी, जो इनके MP हैं, उनकी बेटी की, आराधना मिश्रा, जो उनकी बेटी है, वो पिछले बार भी जीती थी, इस बार भी जीती है। और एक महाराजगंज गोरखपुर के पास एक जिला है, वहाँ पे एक सीट है फरेंदा, तो वहाँ से कांग्रेस उनको सीट मिली है। और जो BSP को अकेली सीट मिली है वो है बलिया जिले से। तो ये 3 सीटों के अलावा सारी सीट बीजेपी और अखिलेश में बढ़ गई। ये एक बहुत बड़ा शुभ लक्षण मान रहा हूँ। एक बात और कह दूँ कि इस चुनाव में एक और मोर्चा जो था, जिसके लिए बहुत मीडिया लिख रहा था, ओवैसी ने जो मोर्चा बनाया था, अकेली पार्टी ओवैसी की नहीं थी, एक बहुत पुरानी पार्टी है जो उत्तर प्रदेश में काम कर रही है, मुसलमानों में काम कर रही है, उसका नाम है पीस पार्टी, डॉक्टर मसूद की पीस पार्टी। तो डॉक्टर मसूद और ओवैसी साहब और एक पिछड़े वर्ग के नेता, जो बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट नेता BSP के रहे हैं, बाबू सिंह कुशवाहा, जन अधिकार पार्टी के नाम से, उन्होंने एक मोर्चा बनाया था। उस मोर्चा का नाम था भागीदारी मोर्चा। भागीदारी मोर्चा का स्वाहा हो गया पूरे इलेक्शन में, 0% वोट, कहीं पता ही नहीं चला कि ये वोट कहाँ गया और ये मोर्चा कहाँ गया। तो ये जो महत्वपूर्ण पॉइंट्स हैं खासतौर से जब मैंने बताया कि मुस्लिम्स में, हिंदूज में, अनुसूचित जातियों में, पिछड़े वर्ग में और दूसरों में जीते हैं, वो एक अब कंट्रीब्यूशन की जहाँ तक बात आती है, मैंने तो MY की बात बताई थी, मोदी और योगी, लेकिन एक स्टडी अभी हुई है, रिसर्च, जिसमें क्वांटिटेटिव रिसर्च अप्लाई करके बताते हैं कि किसका कंट्रीब्यूशन ज़्यादा है। उन्होंने बताया कि उसमें सच्चाई कितनी है और उसके आंकड़े देखने में पता चलेगा। वो कहते हैं कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी का कंट्रीब्यूशन योगी जी के कंट्रीब्यूशन से 3 गुना ज़्यादा है, लेकिन मैं इसमें नहीं पढ़ना चाहता क्योंकि ये पहली बार 37 वर्षों के बाद ये हुआ है कि एक चीफ मिनिस्टर रिटेन हुआ है, तो इसलिए मैं ज़्यादातर अपना जो मत है योगी जी के पक्ष में दूंगा। और जैसे डॉक्टर स्वामी ने शुरू के इंट्रोडक्शन में बताया था कि माफिया के खिलाफ और महिलाओं की सुरक्षा के लिए जितना योगी ने किया है, उत्तर प्रदेश उसका कृतज्ञ था, और इसी कारण उत्तर प्रदेश की महिलाओं ने बढ़ चढ़कर चुनाव में भी हिस्सा लिया और भारतीय जनता पार्टी को भी वोट दिया। तो ये बहुत ही स्पष्ट है, अगर हम 2 और 2 आंकड़े मिला लें तो बिल्कुल साफ होता है कि योगी आदित्यनाथ के कंट्रीब्यूशन को किसी भी प्रकार से कम करके नहीं हटना चाहिए। जो लोगों ने बहुत आरोप लगाए कि वो हिंदू मुस्लिम कर रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं, वो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन उसका भी फायदा मिला। अगर वो नहीं करते ये सब, तो डॉक्टर स्वामी कई वर्षों से कहते आ रहे हैं और उन्होंने भारतीय जनता पार्टी के नेताओं को भी बताया है कि डेवलपमेंट प्लस हिंदुत्व। डॉक्टर स्वामी का कहना अभी तक रहा है कि डेवलपमेंट अलोन इज नॉट इनफ, हिंदुत्व हैज टू कंट्रीब्यूट and then only you can come back to the power. And I think this election of Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand both has proved that it is development plus Hindutva, and therefore the credit must go to these 2 major factors. और एक बहुत छोटा सा इशू है, मैं इसको बता के ख़त्म करूँगा कि जो लोग बात कर रहे थे, कर्नाटक में एक इशू हुआ था चुनाव के दौरान, हिजाब का इशू हुआ था, और लोगों ने, अखिलेश ने इस विषय पे बोलना ही बंद कर दिया था जब ये हिजाब लोग पूछते थे। लेकिन इस हिजाब के कारण कंसोलिडेशन ऑफ हिंदुत्व वोट बढ़ा उत्तर प्रदेश में, और चुनाव के पहले 10 फरवरी को पहला फेज शुरू हुआ था और उसके पहले लगभग 3 या 4 फरवरी को ये इशू आया था। तो पिछले चुनाव से प्रारंभ के 1 हफ्ते के अंदर ही कुछ माहौल बदला और इसका लाभ भी बीजेपी को मिला है। ये मेरा मत है इनके आधार पर। जगदीश एंड
I like to
Question. Go ahead, Dr.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, just one question. हमें ये भी मानना चाहिए कि मैं भी 3 बार लोकसभा जीता हूँ। कितना सिरदर्द होता है कि बूथ में कौन बैठा है, कौन बिक रहा है, ये सब सिरदर्द होती थी। बट बीजेपी को ये संघ का स्वयंसेवकों ने जिस प्रकार से इस बार काम किया और जो मुझे रिपोर्ट मिली है, उनका भी योगदान है। वैसे वो औपचारिक वो कुछ क्रेडिट वेडिट नहीं चाहते हैं, परंतु इस सब पार्टीज़ को जानना चाहिए कि भाई जब तक इस प्रकार की ढांचा आप चुनाव में नहीं करोगे, आपको जीतने की जो संभावना है वो कम हो जाएगी और हो भी सकता है कि हार जाएंगे। एंड देयरफॉर आई एम सेइंग दैट the contribution of the Swayamsevaks also should be recognized, even though we don't want to politicize this because RSS generally avoids politicization. But I would say that they played a major role, and I know that in the eastern districts, in the last 3 rounds, they were in fact critical for our victory.
So I have a couple of questions. Either of you can take it. First question, last time BJP had 312 seats on its own, now it's 255, down about 60 seats, roughly 57, give or take a few. Even from, that's one, why, what could be the reasons? Number 2, because the voting percentage is not dropped significantly. It was 61, it is 60% now. So even if you look at the number of voters, it's not a significant drop, but they have lost seats. That's one important point. The second point that I wanted to do was even women, Arvindji, from last time it was around 44 or maybe around something less than that or somewhere in that range, 44 to 48%. So there was only a 4% shift or more, a 4% increase in the women vote towards BJP. So do you think these 2 points are very significant to shift? I mean, if the women vote are not voted, obviously I think this will be less than 255, correct?
Well,
First question is why was the drop, and what could have been done better in spite of all these positive things that Yogi has done, and yeah, go ahead, please.
No, Arvind is the star of the show, so he should first answer. Then I might add a footnote to what he says.
No, let me just tell you. In fact, I for some reasons I visited Uttar Pradesh thrice during the election force and interacted with people in different places in Uttar Pradesh, so that I can say firsthand the emotions which was seen towards Yogi. And this is what Dr. Sawmy also earlier mentioned, that women were scared of going alone after 7 o'clock in Uttar Pradesh before Yogi came to power. And whether it was special schemes in police stations, special police stations created for women. In every district, one police station was created, and for women exclusively. This is entirely credit to Yogi. And women felt confidence. So even if we say 4% votes were polled extra as compared to the last assembly election, this was only for the safety and security which was provided by Yogi Adityanath.
Okay. And what about the drop? Why the drop?
The overall drop was because of distribution of votes among the many candidates, many parties. In fact, let me tell you, when I'm saying Priyanka Gandhi addressed 209 rallies, मैं लड़की हूँ, डर सकती हूँ, she had put 40% women candidates. She had announced much before the election that she will give the highest number of 100% of seats to women. She did. But even then she could not attract the women voters. But large number of, as I said, Hindus voted more to Akhilesh, Muslims also voted more to Akhilesh. So in general, since I'm saying cutting across the religion and caste, people voted more to Samajwadi Party. Their share went up by about 12%. So naturally, when we say share went up by 12%, it went up across the gender also.
Now, answering your question, Ramesh. First of all, a minor explanation. I wouldn't call this as a major explanation. Minor explanation is that in the second election, such things do happen. There is a lowering of the vote. But we started with almost everybody saying that Akhilesh is going to win.
Yes.
The big crowds and all that. That was the mood. And particularly in the middle classes and so on. I know many middle classes saying, but we have had enough, the economy has failed, this thing, petrol down, Ultimately, none of that mattered over a period of time. When they saw the khichdi that was there, they said, all said and done, the concept that, as Arvind said, and I'll take that one step forward. The fact is that Yogi did do something. Yogi has no touch of any corruption at all. He is known as a Tyagi, and he brought in law and order. And there was this image that if Akhilesh comes to power, law and order will again go back to the old days, because they don't have any reputation. Neither your Samajwadi Party nor any of the associate parties have any reputation for being strict on law and order. On the contrary, they have reduced policemen into chaprasis, personal chaprasis. So so many things then began. And today media is extremely important because it's available in WhatsApp and YouTube and so on. So I think over the time, and I will say that perhaps we should do these seven stages of polling. Let's see what the strike rate I think the strike rate of BJP has increased as we went along
Yes.
with the. So the people then the realization came, and that's how it is now. I'd go a step further and say to our party that if you want to continue winning, please keep the Hindutva factor. Just don't say because it's not enough. But when you say Hindutva, you're uniting the castes, and they'll cut across the votes. So therefore, the combination of yogi looking like a yogi, and and then of course some of the things that he has done, and that this is his first term, he should be given a second chance. These sentiments began to operate, and maybe if we had instead of seven installments of voting, if we had say 14 installments, I think we may have got more seats, because the number of seats were increasing as time went on.
Dr. Sawmy, you see there's a question on the screen. You can shift to Punjab. I mean, essentially, you mentioned in the beginning.
I mentioned it.
Reply in Hindi. Yeah. You can reply in Hindi if you don't mind. So
why? Is there a demand?
Yeah, there's a lot of demand to reply in response in Hindi. I'll ask you in English so that you can respond. In Hindi, both you and Arvind. The rise of AAP, as you said, it's not good. So, what would be the impact?
This government will give you enough.
Sorry.
नहीं, अच्छा, ये जो सरकार बनी है आपकी, और जो चीफ मिनिस्टर बना है, और जो केजरीवाल का जो असली चरित्र है, गुप्त चरित्र जो उसको हम कहते हैं, वो सब कुल मिलाकर, और जो भूमिका है पंजाब की ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार तो इंदिरा गांधी की ज़बरदस्ती, मैं तो उसको मानता भी नहीं हूँ। मैं ये भी नहीं मानता हूँ कि पिंजरावाला टेररिस्ट था। ये सब कांग्रेस की साजिश थी, परंतु इसका फ़ायदा पाकिस्तान ने उठाया था। और जो ड्रग्स हैं, जो क्रिश्चियन कन्वर्जन्स हैं, ये सब एक बहुत बड़ा सिचुएशन पैदा किया, जिसमें ये लोग सहायक होंगे। ये आम पार्टी इनका फ़ायदा उठाएगी, और इसीलिए हमारी जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है उसमें एक बार जब मैं मिनिस्टर था तो मैंने डीएमके गवर्नमेंट को डिसमिस किया था, क्योंकि वो एलटीटी लोगों को खूब खुला छूट दे रहे थे। और मैंने करुणानिधि को वार्न किया था, देखिए तुम्हारा 2/3 बहुमत हो सकती है, परंतु मेरे पास कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, और आप इसको बंद नहीं करोगे तो हम डिसमिस कर देंगे। तो लोग सोचते थे कि रथ का बाढ़ आएगी, ये होगी, वो सब, और कुछ नहीं हुआ। पब्लिक ने इसका स्वागत किया। तो आज भी हम लोगों को इसको हाई नोट में रखना चाहिए कि केजरीवाल की सरकार जो है ये देशद्रोही है, और पंजाब में ये सारे आतंकवादियों को, बाहर से आए हुए अफीम के लोग, नारकोटिक्स के लोग, इन सब का, और पाकिस्तान से जो आते जाएंगे उन सब के लिए कुछ छुला छूट देने वाले हैं। क्योंकि मैं जानता हूं कि ये इनका जो पूंछ है कभी सीधा नहीं होगा, और इसीलिए जैसे कहते हैं ना, कुत्ता का पूंछ को सीधा नहीं कर सकते हो, वैसे केजरीवाल का भी पूंछ सीधा नहीं कर सकते हो। तो हमें सतर्क होना चाहिए, और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अंदर जो हम कर सकते हैं उसको लिए करना चाहिए। और पंजाब में पंजाब को बचाने के लिए लोगों को पता होना चाहिए कि हमें बाकी लोगों को कि उनको सरेंडर करना नहीं है। वो देशभक्त होने के कारण बुलंदी से अपनी आवाज़ को बोलना चाहिए।
Dr. Sawmy and Arvind,
Arvind is going to say something on this.
मेरा थोड़ा इस विषय में थोड़ा रिजर्वेशन है, खासतौर से देशद्रोही के मामले में। मैं नहीं कह सकता कि वो कितना सही है, डॉक्टर स्वामी को ज़्यादा जानकारी है, लेकिन मैं इतना जानता हूँ कि दिल्ली में जो सिसोदिया ने काम किया है, खासतौर से शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में, मैं पिछले 2 वर्षों से लगातार ये बात कह रहा हूँ कि आदर्श शिक्षा मंत्री यदि किसी प्रदेश में हो सकता है तो मनीष सिसोदिया ने काम करके दिखाया है, ग्राउंड पे काम करके दिखाया है। शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में आमूल परिवर्तन अगर किसी भी राज्य में मैंने देखा है तो वो दिल्ली में देखा है। और पंजाब की जनता 2 कारणों से उन्होंने इस बार ज्यादा वोट दिया। पिछली बार 20 सीटें आप पार्टी को मिली थी, इस बार 92 सीट्स आई हैं, दैट मीन्स 72 सीटों का फासला है। फ्री, जो सारा कुछ फ्री वो दिल्ली में दे रहे हैं, पानी फ्री, बिजली फ्री। और ये बात उन्होंने महिलाओं को भी बोला कि उनको एक भत्ता दिया जाएगा, हर महिला को घर में 1000 रुपए फ्री। तो वो 50 करोड़ रुपया, 500 करोड़ रुपया साल का कहाँ से आएगा? 50 करोड़ रुपया महीना या 500 करोड़ रुपया साल कहाँ से आएगा? ये अब भगवंत मान बताएंगे। लेकिन फ्री का जो नारा दिया था ये बहुत कारगर सिद्ध हुआ। और साथ में जो सिसोदिया की जो दिल्ली में इन्होंने काम करके दिखाया, इसका भी असर हुआ। आगे जो डॉक्टर स्वामी बता रहे हैं, भगवान न करे ऐसा हो कि देशद्रोही हमारे सूबा जो लगता है पाकिस्तान के बॉर्डर से, ऐसे सूबे में कुछ ऐसा असर हो, क्योंकि वो देश के ऊपर व्यापक असर होगा। और पाकिस्तान का जो बहुत बड़ा काम था पंजाब में, वो था ड्रग्स। पूरा ड्रग माफिया जो था वो पाकिस्तान चला रहा था। और चाहे वो अमरिंदर सिंह की सरकार हो या चाहे अब तो कई अकाली दल के नेताओं के नाम भी लिए गए, उनके खिलाफ केस भी दर्ज किए गए। कितना सही है कितना गलत है ये जांच सिद्ध करेगी, लेकिन इस पर रोक लगनी चाहिए। और केंद्र को इसमें जहां भी हस्तक्षेप करना है, बहुत जरूरी हस्तक्षेप है केंद्र सरकार का। जरूर सरकार आम आदमी पार्टी की बन गई है, लेकिन केंद्र का इसमें भूमिका कम नहीं हुई।
संविधान है।
जगदीश जी।
डॉक्टर स्वामी अरविंद चतुर्वेदी, खास करके मेरे को अरविंद चतुर्वेदी से ये सवाल है कि बीजेपी जब उत्तराखंड में जीत रही है, वहां के मुख्यमंत्री क्यों हार गए? अरविंद चतुर्वेदी, जरा इसके ऊपर।
मेरा जहां तक आकलन है, ये व्यक्तिगत हार है, उनकी पार्टी की हार नहीं है। और जो उन्होंने इनफैक्ट सबसे बड़ी घोषणा जो उन्होंने की थी, वो घोषणा थी कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड में जिसे जीतूंगा, यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड उत्तराखंड में लगा दूंगा। लोगों को पता है कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड एक स्टेट में नहीं आ सकता जब तक केंद्र की सहमति नहीं हो, वो केंद्र का काम है। तो उन्होंने ऐसी उल जुलूल जो घोषणाएं की थी, इन घोषणाओं के कारण उनका जो जैसे कहते हैं बिग माउथ, तो ही वाज नॉट टेकन सो सीरियसली। और उत्तराखंड में जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज हैं उनका आकार बहुत छोटा है उत्तर प्रदेश की तुलना में। और छोटा आकार मतलब थोड़े से भी वोट का फर्क पड़े तो 2% 3% बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट हो जाता है। तो वो इसके शिकार हो गए। और वहाँ पे कांग्रेस ने थोड़ा अच्छा प्रचार किया। और लेकिन आप ये देखिए कि जो एमएलए जीते हैं, 47 एमएलए जीते हैं, उनमें योगी धामी की पॉपुलैरिटी कम नहीं है। आज सुबह ये खबर आई है 6 एमएलए अपनी सीट को रिजाइन करने को तैयार हैं टू इनेबल धामी टू कॉन्टेस्ट द इलेक्शन सो दैट ही कैन बिकम चीफ मिनिस्टर। तो उसकी पॉपुलैरिटी उस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में कम हो गई है, लेकिन लोग पार्टी में कम थी।
Arvind ji, so based on, sorry, go ahead, Jagdish ji, go ahead.
Dr. Swami, my question to you is, a lot of propaganda is being made against our government, BJP government and the party on an important issue where originally you were responsible to get the VVPAT on the EVM machines as a safeguard. It was your petition which was acknowledged by the Supreme Court saying that VVPAT should be introduced as a safeguard on EVMs. But now a lot of propaganda is done against the BJP that these victories are a rigged victory. In fact, many people who are bad losers are making this charge about the EVMs. I just want you to tell our viewers what you are feeling on the subject, because a lot of disinformation is being spread.
No, I agree with you. This information is all nonsense, because I am only saying this. Is there a candidate who says, I'm winning but I've been cheated? Then go and file a thing and say, I want my vote to be counted on the VVPAT. With VVPAT, you can't say it's rigged, because it shows you see it before it goes into the box. So therefore, and you can't change that box because those are all sealed and they're party agents all around. So none of them do it. Not one of them. I've been saying this for the 2014 elections. I've been saying it for 2019 elections. I've been saying this, that if you want to say rigging has taken place, just prove it by opening the VVPAT box. I brought it. In fact, the propaganda was also that I had originally said that EVMs are unreliable. Now I am supporting the EVM. Of course, I am supporting the EVM because the Supreme Court amended it the way I wanted it amended. I told the Supreme Court, if they asked me, it's so convenient to have electronic voting machine, please tell us how we can retain it. So I said, then you introduce what is called the VVPAT and give direction. 3,000 crores were immediately necessary. The Supreme Court ordered that it should be done, and it was not done by the Congress because they were probably going out of power at that time. But as soon as our government came, we gave that money, and VVPAT is now there in every state assembly and all India parliamentary elections. So I will not say no, this didn't happen. I'll say prove it by going and asking for VVPAT counting. File a petition and ask for it, and you will get it. So that is all. And nobody will do it, I can tell you that. They just want to discredit the result.
I have two short questions. Okay, Ramesh, before you proceed. Dr. Sawmy,
Yes.
Our title was Implications of the Elections on 2024, but I want to amend the question. What is the implication of these results on the governance of the central government and especially on Hindutva issues? I want to have your quick comment. What is the implication of these results on the government and especially on Hindutva issues which are pending before the central government?
Well, see, we are running out of time, so I'll make it very short. First of all, I have been saying from day one, all of you know this, I'm saying that the singular point about the BJP is this Hindutva principle, which makes people rise above caste, region, language, everything, and become one. Today, BJP is there in all parts of India. It has grown, which is something that never happened before, nor did any of us expect it. It is purely because of this open advocacy. By Hindutva, we are not against Muslims. Hindutva is a way of living. And if the Muslims want to live the same way, I mean, after all, we are not saying that you should not read namaz. We are not saying that you should not believe in the Quran. We are only saying that the attitudes, behavior, the constitutional principles, these are all Hindutva principles. The Constitution of India has 90% of Hindutva in it. Only that it's not recognized and not taught that way. So that is what I would say in short. That number one, today you cannot defeat BJP unless you have a alternative Hindutva party. And in 1977, we did not argue on Hindutva, but we came with a more acceptable alternative socialism, democracy, and so on. And we defeated Mrs. Gandhi. But at no place we spoke of nationalism or anything else like that. And after that, Mr. Vajpayee tried to replicate it and got only 2 seats. So we came back and slowly started coming back only because of Ram Janmabhoomi. And then today, this is the way for the BJP that you have no challenge unless another party with Hindutva, better formulation of Hindutva comes forward.
So Arvind, a quick question. You said Punjab and AAP and winning formula was freebie. Is freebie the only reason? And why did BJP do so badly?
Yes.
Why BJP?
Did so badly in Punjab.
Punjab.
Because of first of all, the Hindutva did not play any role in Punjab.
Yeah.
First of all, there's no Ram temple there. In fact, I was just about to say in response to what Jagdish said earlier,
In Hindi,
Ayodhya,
sorry. I'm sorry.
Ayodhya,
No.
Kashi and Mathura. All the three religious places belong to Uttar Pradesh. And in all the three religious centers, BJP has done much better as compared to 2017. All the three places. Naturally, it just adds to the argument, that which I was earlier saying about Hindutva. Number one. Number two, there is no temple. Temple was never an issue in Punjab. Ram temple was never an issue. In fact, most of the Sikhs, though the Guru Nanak Dev Ji followed Ram also, he mentioned Ram several times in his Guru Granth Sahib, but there was never a controversy between Hindus and Sikhs in Punjab on this issue. Never. So this question of Hindutva, fighting for Hindutva or sacrificing for Hindutva or asserting the Hindutva, that issue was never raised in Punjab in last 10 to 15 years.
No, I understand that, but you're saying freebie is the only reason up one?
No, I'm saying one of the reasons. I'm not saying only reason. I said development.
Right from, you said 20 seats to like 80 odd seats.
20 seats, they have gone to 92 seats, 72
That's
seats
a significant.
extra.
So what is the formula that BJP could not replicate? That's the reason. Punjab is different. And what was the issue? Obviously, BJP knew already.
Ramesh, BJP has always been in power in Punjab through indirect means with Akali Dal.
That's right. They got used
For the
to.
first time that BJP was in opposition after Akali Dal broke with BJP. Otherwise, BJP was considered part of establishment. And people of Punjab wanted to teach a lesson to the existing parties who have been in power, both Congress and BJP and Akali Dal. So where is Akali Dal today? That was the reason.
That's what I wanted to understand. That's exactly what I wanted to understand. That's exactly what I wanted to understand.
BJP didn't have its own identity in Punjab. That I know for myself.
Okay.
I've seen it.
In fact, I tell you, BJP is alleged to have been, the popular opposition is saying that Baba Ram Rahim was given a parole and he was given jet security in order to campaign, not campaign, at least give a fatwa for BJP. He did, but even then BJP lost. So,
That was a very wrong.
Uttar
Pradesh and Uttarakhand, no issue was common. Absolutely.
No, I get that. Punjab is a unique state. I get that point, but surprising.
And also in done, we were part of the central government and the farm agitation and 600 people dying. All these were part of the campaign in Punjab.
But interestingly, Dr. Sawmy, this farmers' agitation was not reflected in the vote.
UP. Not even in UP.
Not even in UP.
No.
Sentiment. I think Dr. Sawmy is right from a sentiment standpoint.
I'm not talking about which are the parties. It was not an issue between the Aam party and the other parties, but it was a negative factor for BJP.
Yes. और मजे की बात यह है कि लखीमपुर कांड जिसमें एक मंत्री के बेटे ने 6 लोगों के ऊपर गाड़ी चढ़ा दी, उस लखीमपुर में 8 विधानसभा क्षेत्र हैं और 8 बीजेपी जीती, 8 बीजेपी जीती। तो लखीमपुर कांड का कोई असर नहीं था। हाथरस कांड का पिछले
लखीमपुर कांड का इसीलिए असर नहीं था। लखीमपुर कांड का इसीलिए असर नहीं कि ये जो सारे सेक्युलर वाले हैं, इन्होंने तो ऐसा चित्र बनाया कि आधा झूठ था उसी में, उसमें से डिस्कनेक्ट हो गए।
हाथरस जी, you were mentioning हाथरस too, right, अरविंद जी? आपने हाथरस के बारे में भी कहा था। हाँ,
हाथरस में एक हरिजन बालिका का रेप और मर्डर हुआ था और उसकी जो डेड बॉडी थी वो घर वालों को नहीं देके पुलिस वालों ने जला दी थी फील्ड में ले जाकर, और बहुत बड़ा कांड हुआ था। वो कई दिन तक लगातार चला था। हाथरस में भी बीजेपी ही जीती है और न केवल बीजेपी उस विधानसभा में जीती है बट आसपास की सारी सीटें बीजेपी को।
भाई बीजेपी का दोषी था उसमें किसी ने कहा तो नहीं था।
हाँ,
पुलिस नालायक थे वो कहा था।
हाँ, प्रशासन के ऊपर बात आई थी।
हाँ,
प्रशासन को आरोपित किया गया था। प्रशासन
उसका तो कुछ करना चाहिए जरूर कि अभी जो नया सरकार बन रही है, अब तो हमारे जाने पहचाने भी जो चुनकर आए हैं राजेश्वर जैसा, तो उनसे कहना चाहिए इसको उठाइए आप। एनीवे समय का अभाव है, तो जगदीश।
यस अरविंद।
मैं डॉक्टर स्वामी, ये इशू इतना लंबा इशू है, जैसे कि मीडिया 10 तारीख के चुनाव के परिणाम आने के बाद से लगातार कह रहा है, तमाम इशू हैं। जगदीश ने जो अभी बात कही कि 2024 में इम्प्लीकेशन क्या होगा, मैं सिर्फ 1 मिनट लूंगा एक बात को ख़त्म करके राउंड अप करने में। मोदी का विकल्प अभी अपोजिशन पार्टीज में नहीं है। ममता हो, केजरीवाल हो, शरद पवार हो, जगन रेड्डी हो, केसी चंद्रशेखर राव हो या उद्धव ठाकरे हो, ये 6 जो नेता हैं नॉन बीजेपी नॉन कांग्रेस पार्टियों के, नॉन कांग्रेस इसलिए कह रहा हूँ कि मैं राहुल को नहीं गिन रहा इसमें मोदी के विकल्प के रूप में कतई, लेकिन इन 6 नेताओं में भी कोई इतनी ताकतवर नहीं है कि वो अपने दम पे दूसरे को कन्विंस कर सके और उसे नेता मान लिया जाए। अखिलेश इस चुनाव में जरूर एक ताकत बन के उभरे हैं, लेकिन वो सत्ता में नहीं है। तो मैं समझता हूँ कि 2024 का कोई परिणाम बहुत दूरगामी परिणाम नहीं होगा। संभवतः जो अभी हमारे पास विकल्प है, हाँ बीजेपी खुद विकल्प पैदा करे तो अलग बात है। मोदी जी 75 वर्ष के हो जाएंगे 2024 में, भी इस पे विचार किया जाना चाहिए कि अगर बीजेपी खुद एक विकल्प पैदा करे तो जरूर हो सकता है कि हमारे पास कोई नया नेतृत्व बीजेपी से निकले। लेकिन गैर बीजेपी गैर भाजपा पार्टियों में, अपोजिशन पार्टियों में कोई भी ऐसा नहीं है कि वो नेतृत्व क्षमता के बल पे या अपनी नीयत के दम पे या अपनी नीति के दम पे या कोई पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क ऐसा ला रहे हैं। कोई विकल्प बीजेपी का भी फिलहाल मुझे नहीं दिखता। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर स्वामी, जगदीश शेट्टी जी, रमेश स्वामी जी। ऐसा एक मुद्दा है और इतने इसमें डायमेंशंस हैं, आयाम हैं कि एक आयाम को भी हम लेंगे तो बहुत लंबा बहस हो सकता है। हमने ज़्यादातर आज का बहस उत्तर प्रदेश पे केंद्रित किया था, पंजाब को थोड़ा बहुत डिस्कस किया, गोवा का हमने नाम नहीं लिया, मणिपुर का हमने नाम नहीं लिया, उत्तराखंड को बहुत ही कम समय देके, लेकिन ये चुनाव की विषय है और इसमें बहुत समय चाहिए होता है। तो हमारा सिर्फ ये लिंक था कि 2024 से इन चुनावों की क्या लिंक है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हमारे जो व्यूअर्स हैं हमें लगातार सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं। मैं विशेष तौर पर डॉक्टर स्वामी का आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूं कि आज हमारे वर्ल्ड ऑफ विजडम ज्ञान गंगा कार्यक्रम ने 150 एपिसोड 150 episodes have been completed today. We have been doing a weekly show for last about 1.5 years, and so the same thank is also due to our technical team, and those viewers who have been watching this program will also notice that over a period of time, in terms of technology, in terms of presentation, in terms of everything that makes a program like this possible, we have been improving. And thanks to our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Gadgi Rakesh, Swaminathan, Ishwar Iyer, Shal Mehta and Ajesh, without whom the improvement in 150 episodes would not have been possible. Viewership is swelling, and it is because of of course the mentorship of Dr. Sawmy, but also the presentation of our program. Thanks to entire team for this. We will continue to present to our viewers this program Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga every Sunday, like we have been doing it. Thank you very much for the support. Next Sunday, March 20th, we will be coming up with another subject and Dr. Subramanian Sawmy. Till then, namaskar, Jai Hind.
जय हिंद, धन्यवाद।
जय हिंद, थैंक यू।
दोस्तों नमस्ते। आज हम एक विशेष प्रोग्राम ज्ञान गंगा वर्ड्स ऑफ विजडम में ले आ रहे हैं। हमेशा की तरह डॉक्टर सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी यहाँ उपस्थित है और मेरे सहयोगी अरविंद चतुर्वेदी और रमेश स्वामी। आज हम चर्चा करने वाले हैं एक बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण विषय के बारे में। हम आज बात करेंगे एडविगे अल्बाइना एंटोनी माइनो के बारे में, उर्फ सोनिया गांधी के बारे में। डॉक्टर स्वामी ने 2011 में एक किताब लिखी थी, सोनिया गांधी, हर लाइफ, हर लाइज, हर मैनिपुलेशन। इस किताब 2011 में डॉक्टर स्वामी ने प्राइवेट सर्कुलेशन में पब्लिश किया था और हमारे टी मोहनदास केरला से है, उन्होंने काफी सहयोग दिया था ये किताब की पब्लिकेशन के बारे में। और लगभग 9 साल पुरानी ये जो है, आज बड़ा शायद फैशनेबल हो गया कई लोगों के लिए कि वो लोग इस व्यक्ति के बारे में चर्चा कर रहे हैं। पर उस समय जब सब लोग डर रहे थे और यूपीए सत्ता में थी और उसके पहले भी डॉक्टर स्वामी ने सोनिया गांधी को निशाना बनाया था और काफी प्रूफ के साथ उन्होंने लोगों को अवगत कराया था कि क्या है सोनिया गांधी। Welcome to our viewers on our channel. As you know, today we are going to be discussing a very important chapter. It is regarding Edvige Albina Anthony Maino, also known as Sonia Gandhi. Dr. Swami had published this book, which is in 2011, in which T.G. Mohandas from Kerala had done a lot of work, and this book is based on facts and documents which Dr. Swami had presented. When it was those days, it was very unfashionable, and now it has become fashionable for some people to raise this issue. Dr. Swami has been in the forefront consistently. Even in 2004, we will discuss all that about this Sonia Gandhi, her life, her lies, her manipulations. So with this, I throw the episode open for discussion. I would first start with asking Dr. Swami that Dr. Swami, when you first became a member of parliament around April 1974, and on that year's birthday of Srimati Indira Gandhi was Prime Minister, you gave her a very beautiful gift by which she had totally turned red in the Rajya Sabha when you had raised a very important question about somebody in her household. That time she was living at, I perhaps remember, 1 Safdarjung Road, which was also her, which is also her memorial just now. Unfortunately, on the 31st of October 1984, she was brutally killed in that place. So we would like to know what was this gift you gave Srimati Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister, on her birthday on 19th November 1974. Dr. Swami.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's been a general defense to avoid expose by saying, these are personal matters. So, and most of the congressmen keep saying that. So I'm going to read out first a quote from Jawaharlal Nehru when he was in the central prison in the 1943 period. In Nanded, actually, in Nainital, he wrote a letter to his daughter Indira Gandhi and said this: never do anything in secret or anything that you would wish to hide. For the desire to hide anything means that you are afraid, and fear is a bad thing and unworthy of you. Privacy, of course, we may have and should have, but that is a very different thing from secrecy. So I would say that I will not intervene into the personal life of Sonia Gandhi, her relations with Rajiv Gandhi, what they were, what they became. All that I had first-hand view of it, because Rajiv Gandhi, towards the end of his life, before he was brutally and cruelly assassinated by the terrorist organization LTT, had confided in two or three of us about some of the problems he is having in dealing with the issues which are there. For instance, on Ram Temple and the Ramayana on television, he was under constant attack from both the leftists and Sonia too. And so we were all very encouraging for him. Shilanyas for VHP, opening the locks of Babri Masjid, which was actually a de facto temple. So I will not go into that. I am only concerned with what is secret today and is impinging on the national interests of India. So I begin by first saying that there is a big mystery in the people as to where she came from. She was the daughter, as you pointed out, of Stefano Magno, who was a soldier in Hitler's army. And Hitler had ordered his army to go to and conquer Russia. So somewhere near St. Petersburg, he was taken prisoner. And there is a small town called Vladimir, where he was kept for a number of years, maybe 4 years, 3 years, I don't know. Hitler was defeated in 1945. And in 2006, Sonia Gandhi made a special plea, and Putin, he was also from St. Petersburg, he personally took her and showed her the jail where her father was kept. So that's the background. Her mother was one of the youth movements of Mussolini. So they have a full fascist background. And this fascist background has been hidden from the public, and especially important because they are attacking all of us as Nazis and so on, and Holocaust and blah blah. And in fact, if there's anyone who has a claim to being a descendant of a political descendant of Hitler, it is Sonia Gandhi. And her birth certificate does not mention the name Sonia. It's a name which her father, after coming back from Russia, gave the Russian name. It's a Russian name. In fact, all three daughters of his got Russian names. They had different names, but he gave them all Russian names. And her birthplace was given in parliamentary records as Orbasano, where their mother presently is residing. And that was her home for a long time. She was brought up there. But she was actually born in a place called Louisiana, which was actually a German rest and recuperation center. And I'm a bit puzzled by it, but I don't want to go any further into it because it's going to areas which is not essential. Then the question comes about her education. As far as I know, the only education institute she went was a seminary for the Christian Catholics called Maria Austerlitz, something like that. And I don't know how many classes she was there and passed, at what level. But she has no college degree. And unfortunately, in her affidavit, when she contested the elections, she claimed that she had got a degree from the University of Cambridge, which Cambridge University, upon my inquiry, gave me a letter denying it, which I have published it. So, I mean, this is a very important thing because in employment in government service, if you have faked your education qualification, you are dismissed and even subject to imprisonment. And I had gone to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, finally, the Chief Justice Justice Balakrishnan said, well, now be generous, you have proved your point, and henceforth she will not, in her affidavit, say so. So if you see her affidavit of 2006, when she fought the by-election again after resigning for Office of Profit Matter, it's different for education qualification from 2014. And even in the who's who of Parliament, she has changed. My first interaction with Sonia Gandhi, not face to face, but in terms of her activities, was when I entered Parliament in April of 1974. And it was my first term. And then in November, I had a question in Parliament about insurance agents and insurance companies. And it was before the finance minister. And Mrs. Gandhi was not present at that time. And I asked the question, and because the minister then who answered was Pranab Mukherjee. And I asked this question whether the insurance agents that you have are selected by any criteria, or you allow foreigners to. And the answer was no, foreigners are barred by the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act and many other acts, and it's only for Indians. Then I said, how is it that Sonia Gandhi is an insurance agent? And she's insuring all the people who are officers and employees of the Prime Minister's office. This is not only a conflict of interest, but it is illegal. Now, whole Parliament, burst into uproar. The Congress denounced me, blah, blah, everything went on. Then I said to Pranab Mukherjee across the aisle that if tomorrow Mrs. Gandhi doesn't come to Parliament and say that I have made her resign from these insurance agencies, I will go to the Tughlaq Road police station because that's the closest to that covers the Racecourse Road, Safdarjung Road area. I said I'll file an FIR against Sonia Gandhi for violating the law and ask her to be taken to custody. Next morning, red-faced Mrs. Gandhi walked in, and she gave me a glare that I'll never forget. And she said, for years, some people have been denouncing my family, interfering in our personal affairs, this, that, scream. And then she said, however, I have ordered Sonia Gandhi to resign from all the insurance agencies. So that's how that matter began. Later on in the emergency, we found that she was declared as the technical director of Maruti car. Now, here's a person who has not even passed school. How can you be a technical director of a motor company? And she was getting a big fat salary also for that. So that was another thing that there was after the Janata Party came to power, we set up an inquiry under Justice Gupta, and a big report on Maruti has been prepared. But she was never prosecuted, because very soon Congress came, and then Congress after that, we be saying all these people, they were progressively found nobody having interest to prosecute her, and it sort of lapsed. So there, again, all these are proved facts that she broke the law and became an insurance agent. She broke the law and became Maruti technical director. And then you see, even the false statement of her educational qualifications in the affidavit, that's also breaking the law. And by breaking the law, she could have been prosecuted. Some people have now been prosecuted. Their elections have been set aside. But at that time, the Chief Justice very well disposed towards the family. But of course, he was a very good judge. I mean, I had Ram Setu, I won the case when he was the Chief Justice. And therefore, but he tried to, sort of work for a compromise and say that I won't press the matter if she agrees to do a new affidavit. So that's how it happened. Now, there's one question which irritates congressmen very much. And that is, I asked this question. She went to England and in 1963, and she went to, and she didn't know any English, so all the Italian girls those days used to go for doing menial work in England. England was much more developed than Italy those days, and Italy had been completely disrupted by the war. So Sonia Gandhi, by then their parents were poor. One was a mistri in construction, and the other was a sharecropper cutting the crop. And so she went to England to get a job, and she had to learn English. So she went to what they call as an English shop, you see, which doesn't exist anymore, Lennox or something like that. And that doesn't exist anymore. Some Bell company has overtaken it now. I mean, bought it over. But she went there for about 6 months to learn English, and then she got a job as a waitress in a restaurant in the Cambridge University area called Variety Restaurants or something. Now, then after that, Rajiv Gandhi, she was meeting Rajiv Gandhi. She had other friends also, but I need not go into that. After meeting Rajiv Gandhi coming to the conclusion that he could not, get a degree in Cambridge. He moved to the Imperial College of London to try and get a degree there. He didn't get a degree there also. And but Sonia also moved in around that area in the suburbs of London, closer to Oxford, and where Mother India was studying. And then from 63 end to 68 February when she got married, where was she working? This is a question I asked the congressman. What is wrong with that? I mean, we want to know those who are in political life that they don't hide anything. So, if what is that so secret about that period? And in that, I said, is it something like this? Is it something like that? Which the congressman get very excited about. But the fact is that the Congress people should ask Sonia Gandhi, where did you work to sustain yourself, because your parents couldn't have sent you money? Where did you work? And she not only did not, the parents did not send money, she was lending money to Rajiv Gandhi. And that's also part of the court record, by the way, in the Delhi High Court. And there was this Meenakshi Lekhi's, I think, father. He was a great lawyer, very tough lawyer, and Pakka Hinduttvavadi. And he had got all of these papers and he had filed it, and he had given it to me also. So, therefore, it's a legitimate question. What were you doing in London? We like to know, because it's inexplicable that you had, beyond your known means of income, you were living in London. So we have a right, even in income tax laws, we have that kind of right, you see. So therefore, this is the other aspect which, then she got married in 1968. But till 1983, she remained Italian citizen. And her children were born in 1970 and 71, the two children. They also have been entered in the register in Italy. I've not been able to get an authenticated copy, but I had a student in Harvard who was an Italian, who told me that their names are there, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi. And they are also, in effect, Italian citizens. Italy doesn't object because they believe in they have dual citizenship. We don't have dual citizenship. If you have any other country's citizenship, automatically Indian citizenship is cancelled according to Article 9 of the Constitution. So, therefore, this is a very important question, because when I got a photostat copy of her application to become a citizen of India under Section 5, there was one mandatory section which said, enclose with your application a certificate of renouncing your Italian citizenship. And she has put a cross on it and said, not applicable. Now, what do you mean by not applicable? Are you a stateless person or what? And so the officers then passed the thing that she can't be given citizenship. Then we have on record Mrs. Gandhi's instruction that this need not be pressed. It doesn't seem like a very important requirement. She is an Indian citizen, that should be declared. So that's how her Indian citizenship was declared. This matter was being raised by me in 2004, in January, February. And when her becoming the Prime Minister of India, for which she made huge preparations. I'll tell you what the preparations were. But I found that Mr. Advani made a statement, which I believe was done under the instruction of Mr. Vajpayee, that this particular lapse, which I had made public at that time, that she never submitted her her citizenship renunciation of Italy, and therefore her Indian citizenship is ipso facto null and void. He said we have regularized it, but that is not the end of it. It can be reopened any time if it's necessary. But at the this is something that is there. I'm not interested in pursuing this matter because I've proved my point. And now she then wanted to go. She wanted to be prime minister. So I wrote a letter that there is another proviso in the constitution, which was also amended out by the Vajpayee government before they handed over the power in May 21st or whatever of 2014, and that was passed as part of the Apravasi Bharatiya bill, and that was this proviso which has now been amended, but it is unconstitutional to amend it. So I can always bring it back if it becomes necessary by going to court. That says that any person, foreigner becoming a citizen of India will be subject to those conditions upon becoming an Indian citizen, which are applicable to Indians becoming citizens of that country. So what are the restrictions put on Indians becoming Italians? When an Italian wants to become an Indian, we look at what the conditions are imposed on an Indian who becomes an Italian. And there, you see, you cannot be prime minister unless you are born in Italy. And therefore she can't be a prime minister in India because there's a reciprocity and you can't become. And this is the letter I wrote to Abdul Kalam. He called me for a meeting on the. He had been trying me, but I was in Madras that time, and then the letter went from Madras. It arrived on I think on 17th of May morning. He called me up. I was at the lunch. I was sitting down for lunch at my house, and he said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in Delhi." He says, "I've been trying to locate you." I said, "I was in Madras." He said, "Come right now." So I said, "How soon?" Because I've sat down for lunch. He said, "Forget your lunch, you come within 15 minutes. And my house was not far, so I raced there. And I walked in, I saw all kinds of officials sitting. The Attorney General, everybody was there. And he said, "You wrote this letter?" I said, "Yes." "Will you explain to these people?" I explained to them. One of them asked me, "Have you got any court judgments to say that this is not unconstitutional?" There was some Pakistani, and the Allahabad High Court had given a judgment that it is constitutional. So everybody satisfied. Then I asked the President, Abdul Kalam, whom I have known a long time. He actually he's a Tamilian who comes from a neighboring district, Ramanathapuram. And I knew him when I was Commerce Minister also, because he was scientific advisor at that time, the Defense Ministry. And he has attended many of my conferences that I have called as a minister. So I asked him straightforward, "But aren't you very late?" He said, "Why?" I said, the TV is scrolling that you have invited her to stake a claim this evening at 5 o'clock. So what are we doing, an academic advice, exercise? He said, "No, it is now only 12:30, and 5 o'clock is a long way off." So I said, "But their press is waiting outside. What do I say?" So he said, "Tell them that the president is seized of the material that I've given, and he will give an opinion very soon." And very soon means at 3 o'clock he sent the letter to Sonia Gandhi's house. And I know two witnesses who were there, senior Congress officials, congressmen, being ministers, and so they were both there. I think one of them I can name was Manmohan Singh, and the other one I will not name. And they both, Manmohan Singh never said anything to me later on, but the other man whose name I'm keeping confidential did not, did tell me what happened. Then a letter went from Abdul Kalam to her saying, I had invited you to stake a claim today at 5 o'clock, but I have received a complaint from so-and-so, and I'm going to refer this to the Election Commission and under Article 91 or something, one of the articles, and also to the Supreme Court for an opinion whether the point I've taken is valid. Till then, I cannot give you, I cannot invite you to form the government, but if you're still keen on forming a government, then come tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So the 5 p.m. meeting stands cancelled. These are all on record. That letter, Manmohan Singh read in the meeting at 5 o'clock, but he only read the last line, that if you are anxious to meet me for forming the government, come at 10 a.m. tomorrow. But he didn't read the other part of the text. Obviously, he could not. And of course, there was big hangama on the parliamentary party and all that. And next morning, she went with Manmohan Singh and kept him sitting in the other room. And there was a big blow-up between her and Abdul Kalam, who, according to eyewitness, a person who held a very senior position in Anna University, where Abdul Kalam used to very often go and stay there and also give lectures. So he was there. I won't name him also, but he's alive. So he heard the whole thing, and then Abdul Kalam, in fact, had a evidence which was provided by RAW that she still had an Italian passport. So therefore, he told her that the best thing for you to do is, find somebody competent who will listen to you, and I will swear him in. And that's how Manmohan Singh was chosen. But his swearing in was fixed at on 21st May. Why? Because the support papers which are necessary to show you have majority was all sent in the name of Sonia Gandhi. And there about 340 names, they're all opposition parties, everybody who were in favor of Congress and against BJP. They all had sent individually letters. I so-and-so hereby propose the name of Sonia Gandhi for Prime Minister. And from Raebareli, Sonia Gandhi had also written, I hereby propose the name of Sonia Gandhi for the Prime Ministership of India, signed Sonia Gandhi. So, therefore, all this talk that she never wanted it and all that, it was total bakwas. And it's one of these false propagandas to create an image. And these are records which are available. And I know one party which had sent a support to the president saying we support the formation of government by the Congress party. And Sonia Gandhi phoned up one of the leading lights of that party and said, no, there will be misunderstanding. Some of my party colleagues are not interested. So you give me a letter again saying putting my name in it. So there's no question whatsoever that she wanted to be Prime Minister. She was denied it. Now, why make such all this drama that your Mother Teresa or somebody like that, sacrifice, a noble sacrifice and all this propaganda has been going on for such a long time, it's all total rubbish. Now, I also found subsequently in the early 2001, that during the period when Sonia Gandhi was living with Indira Gandhi and then later on as the wife of Rajiv Gandhi, she was engaged in antique smuggling and on a very large lot of them. I also found that, and it was published in Hindu newspaper by some correspondent called Baiju something. She was a Maharashtrian lady. She was living in Paris, but she had gone specially to Italy. And a place called Rivolta, there was a shop there called Etchnika. And in Sonia Gandhi's hometown of Albasano, there was a shop called Ganapati. Both were stocking ancient antiques from India. So it is smuggled from India, brought in there, and there they prepared all these, sale deeds and so on, and then auctioned it in London. This is a racket that's going on. I filed a case in Delhi High Court, and notice was issued to CBI. And that time there was a lawyer called who was representing Solicitor General, the additional Solicitor General called Raju Ramachandran, who's very much with them. But he was there, and he's of course an upright lawyer. I have a good opinion about him, although his ideological bearings have nothing to do with it. He got up and said, the court said, and there was a judge called Patel from Gujarat, he was the Chief Justice, and there was another judge, I think he was the grandson of our former President Fakhruddin. So they both of them said, we are asking the CBI to make an investigation of this. Along with this, there was another petition where I said that she, according to declassified documents by Yeltsin, after the Soviet Union collapsed and it became so many countries, 16 countries, and Yeltsin became the president of what is now known as Russia, or some federation or something, which is now popularly known as Russia. It's a much a truncated part of Soviet Union. And he had set up a commission on KGB activities during the period of the Soviet Union. And at that time, the Americans had huge influence in Russia, because the Russians wanted a lot of money. They were total wrecks. So the Americans were there, the American advisors were there. And what the Americans did is they quietly went into the KGB headquarters and photostated every document. I mean, the amount of work that was done, but the Americans are thorough in these matters. Every document was photostated, and then they put a copy of each in several libraries. So at Harvard, in a library called Lamont Library, they put a huge, almost one basement full of these records. And of course, all computerized, and you could bring it out all on a very efficient basis. And I had a spare time. I used to go every summer, as Jagdish knows very well and Arvind knows very well, and teach for 3 months and come back. So I had a lot of spare time, and my wife has already become a lawyer, so she was most of the time those 3 months. And so I used to go to the library and then start looking around. And one day I said, let me type Mino and see what comes out. And Stefano Mino going to jail, all these documents came, and records came to show that the KGB was paying Sonia Gandhi for years. And those records I pulled out and filed it in the Delhi High Court. Delhi High Court again sent a notice to the government, and that was External Affairs Ministry, and Jaswant Singh was the External Affairs Ministry, and he then called the RAW and asked them to go to Russia and get it. The Russians then said, you have to come here with an official communication with the government of India, and we will give you all the records. Yes, these records exist. So Jaswant Singh then put this up to Mr. Vajpayee as usual. He declined. So we could never pursue that matter. But the letter that Jaswant Singh wrote to the Russians asking for these records, I have a copy of it, because I was a very good friend of Jaswant Singh, and I'm very sorry that we didn't give him a ticket, and then an accident happened. He's now, I think, in a comatose condition. And so here again we have a situation where records are there, and newspapers published all this.
the Times of India. The correspondent who published it, when I see her today and say, hey, what happened to that investigation you did? She said, please don't bring it up, don't bring, I'll be in trouble. She doesn't want anything to do with it. I think she had a husband who was in UNI. He also put it out, which came in every newspaper. So that there was no doubt about it. So KGB and antique smuggling. Now, these are things on which the Congress got very angry with me, and all kinds of things were done. Chidambaram tried to get me arrested on some hate speech thing, which of course fizzled out because there was no hate speech. I never make hate speech. I say the truth. If I say Muslims' ancestors are Hindus, I'm not saying many hate. That means I'm including them. I'm not like the Nazi Germany who says that Jews are germs. They've got nothing to do with Germans. I'm saying no, you are one of us. How can that be hate? But anyway, they tried all this Hindu terror, everything was tried, but nothing worked because I have by then become knowledgeable in law. And so here is another case. So and then there were other incidents which in the emergency. After Janata Party was elected to power and Moraji took oath, between our results coming out and Moraji taking the oath, Sonia Gandhi picked up her two children, got hold of Rajiv Gandhi, and all of them went and hid in the Italian embassy. And one day, when Moraji had become Prime Minister, I walked in at an early hours because he usually used to call me at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. For a meeting. Almost every day I used to go. And I saw Indira Gandhi coming out, and she was in tears. But of course she didn't see me. I also sort of stayed away. And she went. And when I went in, I asked, no, Moraji Desai, what's the matter? He says that she came here to complain that Sonia has taken away the two children and also Rajiv Gandhi to the Italian embassy. And so Moraji made me sit down, and he called up the Italian embassy, and he said something to the effect that she's quite safe. I mean, what's the problem? I give you my personal guarantee. And the Italian ambassadors, Moraji didn't care any protocol or anything. He just picked up the phone and called up, and the Italian ambassador said, but she's an Italian citizen. So he said, so what? Rajiv Gandhi is also there, and he is a pilot in the Indian Airlines and therefore a government officer. And there will be severe prosecution of him and disciplinary action if you don't allow him to come out. So that's how they came out. I mean, these are episodes which everybody knows. I know that Priyanka Gandhi's wedding, which took place in the late 90s, who presided over that small reception that they had given. The Ataullah, lady called Farida Ataullah. Everybody knows who she is. She's ISI. Now, what was she doing as the chairman or chairperson of the wedding reception for Priyanka Gandhi? So there are all kinds of things which keep coming out. Now, over the years, I found that after Narasimha Rao came, he tried very hard to see if there's any way we could, he could accommodate Sonia Gandhi without her feeling bad. Because I think Sonia Gandhi expected him to die within 6 months of his taking office. By then they would have got a majority and she could have become Prime Minister. But as Narasimha Rao's health started improving after he became Prime Minister. It's something that does happen. I've seen a lot of Prime Ministers come in and sick and then they become very healthy. I think power is also a great aphrodisiac, I think. Anyway, that issue, I remember he asking me go and see her and tell her. So I went and saw her. And then over a period of time, twice or thrice, I saw her. She was, although she was not an MP, she was chairman of the parliamentary party, so she used to come to parliament. And I used to run across her. One day, Jayalalitha suddenly called me up and said, we have to bring down this Vajpayee government. He's a betrayer. He made so many promises. Of course, he made one promise that he will make me finance minister. After getting all our signatures of support, he ditched all of us. So she was really mad. She wanted him to be brought down. And I kept telling her, no, what is the alternative and all. So she told me, no, you can work out an alternative. You did with Rajiv Gandhi, you found an alternative for VP Singh, you must do this. So finally I said, you will have to make up with Sonia Gandhi, and I don't think you like her. She said, I know I don't like her, but for politics I'm willing to speak with her. So that's how I held that tea party, which everybody now makes a big thing. I was a Janata Party man, I am not and Mr. Vajpayee was totally against me, and therefore there was nothing, Janata Party and BJP had nothing with each other at that time. So to say that I should not bring down the BJP government, as some people, especially Congress people, go on provoking our followers by raising this issue. And I did what Indira Gandhi wanted, and I held the tea party so that Indira Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi and Jayalalitha can come together. We came together, brought down the government. But then once the government was brought, she made a deal with Vajpayee on Kotrochi and ditched all of us. And that's how Vajpayee was able to come back. And then by then Vajpayee had also brought in DMK as his ally. And you know the rest of the story. So I would say this much, that I have all the documentation. I have not spoken anything which will be a breach of privilege of something personal to her. I have plenty, but I will never come out with it. And two, I will certainly come out with secrets which have national interest implications. I certainly have a right to know what is our background, what is our connection with Italy, with the Italian fascists and German Nazis. Why we would like to know so many other things which have impinge on our politics. She also, I tell you one more incident. In October 1990, October 10th to be exact, Rajiv Gandhi called me and said, are you going to America anytime soon? I said, yeah, I'm planning to leave in another 2 days for about 5-6 days. So he says, can you do me a favor? I said, what? Can you stop by Tunis? I said, why Tunis? It's such a small country, what is there? He says, Arafat is there. And Arafat was hiding there after that Shatila massacre in Lebanon. He was hiding there. So he says, I want you to meet Arafat. I said, me meeting Arafat? I am a friend of Israel. He probably knows it too. And if I turn up there, will I be able to come out? He said, no, I have made all the arrangements. So please go. I said, what for? He said, you come and meet me, I'll tell you what for. What he told me was that for years, Sonia Gandhi had been financing the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, and that particularly the George Habash group, which is a Christian group, and sending them money. And whether the money was, now that he is no more Prime Minister, still reaching the Palestinians. So I asked that question to Arafat. Arafat, of course, was became great friends. He sat with me, he insisted I have lunch before going. Anyway, I came on a private plane from London. So therefore, I had time. So I had lunch with him, we discussed so many things. When I became Commerce Minister later, he phoned me up was the first one to phone me up to congratulate me. And we remained in good contact throughout till this end. So he told me one thing, yes, money is coming, but why she can't send it to me? Why she must send it directly to George Habash? Now that was a question later on I wanted to know, but it turned out that George Habash, People's Liberation for Palestine, something, PLFP or something, was a Christian organization. So that's why she was sending it there. Now, this is a very serious matter, that these are terrorists and you are financing them. But, how many things can we go to court for, and where will be the documentation also? So that is why I've left it at that. But I would challenge them. You deny it, I will then make that as an excuse to summon documents through the court. But anyway, the issue is this. I have nothing personal against Sonia Gandhi because I hardly know her. She did one day in a dinner when Rajiv Gandhi, myself, and Rakshana and Vishwabandhu Gupta of the Congress party, in his house there was a dinner. And when Rajiv Gandhi introduced me to her and said, you know, my friend Swami, she said, your friend Swami, I know, he's the coward who ran away from India during the emergency. So Rajiv got very embarrassed. So I said, don't worry, I'll reply to it. I said to Sonia that I am like the Italian army, always running away from the battlefield, so you should have sympathy for me. So she got so angry, she left the dinner and went away. So there's been no real this thing except that brief period when the question of bringing down the Vajpayee government was there. So what I am saying today is that, in my opinion, she's unfit to lead this country. And I'm glad I stopped her. She can never become Prime Minister of India because she has this and her connections are all over the world. In 1995, she went to China. I know all about that visit because I had gone to China subsequently. The Chinese regard me as friends. So since whatever I learned there as a friend, I can't make it public. But the issue is, if it ever becomes a national security issue, I'll make that public too. So what I am concerned is about national security. And I have nothing personal against any of them. Although they have tried to harm me in no end. The whole Harvard episode where behind my back, they cooked up some silly charge of hate speech and what was the hate speech that I said Muslims should acknowledge that their ancestors are Hindus. In what way is that a hate? I'm welcoming them to my family. So, but they did it, they financed it, and the president of Harvard was promised 100 acres in India to start a campus, and a Harvard overseas campus. But thankfully the BJP came to power, and Smriti Irani became Human Resources Development Minister, and she cancelled the whole thing by saying correctly that there is something called EDX, and you can study at Harvard through the computer and through your laptop. You don't need a campus here, and campus means cultural change and things like that. So there are so many things which I have not made an issue of. But National Herald is an outrageous corruption of unimaginable proportions. I mean, it involves criminal misappropriation of property. It involves cheating. It involves criminal misappropriation of resources. Oh, so many charges are there, and one of them is actually life imprisonment. One of the charges. So that's a serious matter. It's going slow because in India in courts many things go, especially when there are 7 accused and there are 7 senior lawyers. I mean, there are thousands of ways it can be delayed. But I have got them during their period when they were in office. The magistrate to issue a summons, and there's a prima facie case has been proved. Now we have to frame charges and hold a trial and convict them and send them to jail.
डॉक्टर स्वामी,
या अरविंद प्लीज गो अहेड।
आपने हमारे दर्शकों के लिए आज के इस प्रकरण में इतना धमाकेदार जानकारी दी है। मैं पहले थोड़ा संक्षेप में बता दूं हमारे हिंदी भाषी लोगों के लिए। जो आपने बताया, आपने सोनिया गांधी के जो बीमा एजेंसी थी अवैध रूप से जो उन्होंने हासिल की थी, वहां से आपने शुरू किया, और उन्होंने अपनी जो शैक्षिक योग्यता है उसको छुपाया, अपने चुनाव के गलत एफिडेविट दिया जिसको आपने चैलेंज किया। उन्होंने अपने नाम के बारे में, अपने जन्म स्थान के बारे में छुपाया। आपने उनके जो राष्ट्रपति चुनाव के संबंध में, प्रधानमंत्री पद के चुनाव के संबंध में जो बताया, 2004 में जो उनको दुनिया त्याग की मूर्ति के नाम से जानती है, उस त्याग की मूर्ति का भी आपने आज भंडाफोड़ कर दिया कि किस प्रकार राष्ट्रपति कलाम ने आपको जो आपकी जो लीगल पॉइंट्स थे उसके सहारे उनको प्रधानमंत्री बनने से रोका। आपने उनके जो स्मगलिंग अवैध रूप से उन्होंने की भारतीय पुरातत्व की, उसके बारे में आपने बताया। आपने संबंध, उनके जो संबंध केजीबी से थे उनकी तरफ उनको आपने इशारा किया। तो जो सबको आपने बताया, लेकिन मैं चाहता हूँ एक बहुत बड़ी बात थी जो छूट गई है। नेशनल हेराल्ड तो आपने बता दिया, जो बोफोर्स में राजीव गांधी के ऊपर चार्ज लगे,
जी
उसमें सोनिया गांधी की बहुत बड़ी भूमिका थी और उनके रिश्तेदार कह लीजिए, पारिवारिक मित्र कह लीजिए, जो क्वात्रोची महोदय थे, जिनको बाद में किस तरह छोड़ा गया या किस तरह जाने दिया गया, वो भी एक विषय है जानकारी का। तो सोनिया गांधी की भूमिका बोफोर्स के मामले में क्या रही और किस प्रकार ये पूरा मामला आगे बढ़ा, इसके बारे में।
जी समय है तो मैं 5 मिनट के अंदर बोल दूंगा। जगदीश इस बार है तो अगले बार कुछ
हमने कहा कि समय हम आज पूरा कर लेंगे इस विषय पे।
डॉक्टर स्वामी, आप बोफर्स के बारे में जरूर हमारे दर्शकों को बताएं।
ओके, देखिए मैं आप दोनों मेरे साथ थे, आप जानते हैं कि मैं विधि मंत्री भी था, वाणिज्य मंत्री भी था, विधि मंत्री भी था। तो विधि मंत्री के कारण चंद्रशेखर सारे फाइल्स मुझे दे देते थे कि तुम राजीव गांधी का दोस्त हो, तुम बताओ क्या करें। तो मैंने जब उसको देखा तो 2-3 बातें पता लगी जिस पब्लिक को आज पता नहीं है और आज भी फाइल में होगी। ये जो सौदा हुआ था, उस सौदा में उस समय डिफेंस मिनिस्टर थे कौन? वीपी सिंह। वो स्टॉकहोम में जाकर वहां से दूर जो हेडक्वार्टर्स है बोफोर्स, वहां जाकर बैठकर उसने अप्रूवल दिया, वहां दस्तखत भी किया और वही बन गए साधु संत बोफोर्स के विरुद्ध में। तो पहला ये था। दूसरा था कि राजीव गांधी की पत्नी सोनिया गांधी और उनकी बहन की जो पति थे मैं कह रहा हूँ क्योंकि वो डिवोर्स करके चले गए, और वॉल्टर विंची और एक और बहन जिसका वो स्पेनिश का आदमी था। इन दोनों को पैसा मिली। वो थे जब राजीव गांधी वहाँ दस्तखत करने के लिए गए थे। उस समय जो डिफेंस सेक्रेटरी था मिस्टर भार्गवा, वो मेरा विद्यार्थी था हार्वर्ड में। और जब ये सारा हुआ और सब खत्म होने के बाद मैं गया तो वो तो एक भूत जैसा लग रहा था, जो जैसे कोई दृश्य देखा है, इससे जो लोग यानी सारे बाल सब उतर जाते हैं, सब पागल हो जाते हैं, वैसा था। तो मैंने पूछा ये क्यों किया? तो तब उसने कहा कि हमें यही था कि राजीव गांधी हिम्मत नहीं हुई अपनी बीवी को काबू में रखने के लिए, और वो सीधा हमसे डांटती थी, और वॉल्टर विंची और इसको देने के लिए। और चिदम्बरम का मामा एक थे, उसका अभी एक केस में अभी फंसा है,
एसी मुतैया।
हाँ, मुतैया, एसी मुतैया। उसको मैंने स्पीक घोटाला में जेल भी भेजा था। उसने एक एई सर्विसेज बनाई और उस एई सर्विसेज के जरिए पटोची को पैसा मिला। तो राजीव गांधी को तो पैसा मिला नहीं, पर तो वो कोई कहने की बात नहीं है, उसके बिना तो हो ही नहीं सकता था, उतना तो वो दोषी है ही। परंतु जहाँ तक पैसा है वो ये दोनों साला, उनको क्या कहते हैं, साला ही कहते हैं ना बहन की पति को, ये दोनों को उन्होंने पैसा दिया और उन दोनों ने पैसा लेने के बाद डिवोर्स करके चले गए। अब ये दोनों बहन जो हैं वो पति के बिना है।
आपने सोनिया गांधी को डॉक्टर स्वामी कहीं रॉबर्ट क्लाइव भी कहा है। वो रॉबर्ट क्लाइव की तरह।
हाँ, रॉबर्ट क्लाइव ने क्या किया, यहाँ से लूट करके जाकर वहाँ इंग्लैंड में खुश आराम से रहा ना। ये तो कब इंग्लैंड तो जाती नहीं है, परंतु इतना लूट किया। मैं तो मुझे लगता है कि क्लाइव से भी ज्यादा लूट किया। वो तो है ही। ये तो हमारी कमजोरी है, हमारी कमजोरी है कि वो कर सकती थी। हमारी कई 1-2 प्रधानमंत्री तो उनके पाँव ढकढका करते थे जब सोनिया का नाम आती थी। कौन सोनिया गांधी के ऊपर केस डालने के लिए किसी को हिम्मत थी?
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. I would now request Ramesh for his next question.
Yeah, Dr. Sawmy, you just mentioned that nobody had the guts to file a case against Sonia, but there was a case in the US, in New York, that for the defamation case. So,
Yes.
I mean, it was a debacle that she never
Oh, it was
realized
a
what
real
was doing.
debacle, yeah.
Think a little bit about that.
What happened is this, that I had two associates, one Kataria and another Arish Sahani. Kataria is dead but Arish Sahani is in full swing there. And Sonia Gandhi was coming to, in the UPA period, to United Nations to speak about Mahatma Gandhi. A lot of people in America are confused that they are relatives or something like that. But anyway, so she was coming. So I don't know what came over our people there, this in our eyes. They took a full page advertisement of all that. Today you find that in that book, and put it in short form, and the whole page of New York Times that was there. Now the New York Times had subjected to legal, which all newspapers do in America, subjected to a legal check, and they came to the conclusion that you can't file a defamation case in America. Anyway, a public person files a defamation case, then what happens is that the onus shifts to the public person to prove that what was said was false, and that the person saying the false thing knew it was false, and still he made that statement. So it's very difficult. But anyway, they thought these two people are bholas. They are ordinary workers. One was an insurance agent, making a living, and the other was doing some basic secretarial work, and both very nice golden men. And but they thought that who can protect them. So they got the most famous high-paid lawyer in America, who had appeared for Ariel Sharon of Israel, and won the case for him against Time magazine. And they got him to file a 500 crore rupees. Or maybe it was more. I think it's $100 million. So a suit for damages, and there was such a scare in the NRIs that model will happen and your property will be attached. All kinds of rumors were being spread by the Congress party, overseas Congress party. So they contacted me. So I caught a flight and went to New York, and I had a friend in Harvard who was a Jewish professor, and asked him that if you know any good lawyer who would work free for my colleagues in a defamation case. And he laughed. He said, "Do you think anybody will work for free in America?" So I said, "All right, give me a recommendation of somebody. Let me see if I can persuade him." So there's a very well-known law firm in Park Avenue, the most fashionable avenue, as you and Ramesh know very well, or those who have been to New York know very well. And that was called Constein and so on. It's a law firm. So I got an appointment with Mr. Constein, and I went there and sat with him, and he immediately recognized me. He said, "You have been supporting Israel from a very long time." I said, "Yeah, I'm the same guy." He said, "Well, you have a lot of guts," and so on, and his heart opened out for me. And he said, "What have you come for?" I said, "A defamation case." He said, "Oh, you are being defamed or you're defaming?" I said, No, two of my very poor colleagues. I mean, people are just workers here. They have been, $100 million suit has been filed. He said, "Really?" I said, "But we can't afford your fees." So he laughed. He said, "Is there anything you can give?" I said, "Whatever typing paper and the typist charges, those we'll give." And that came to about $65,000, for which I held an Indian overseas meeting and collected it from the crowds. So 65,000 rupees. My friends in Harvard was joking that even you can't take some lawyer from Park Avenue to lunch if you pay him $65,000. There's nothing for him. It's peanuts. How did he agree? I said, well, you're a good man. So he agreed. And they prepared a beautiful case. And I, of course, knew the law very well, American law also. So I also, debated with them, and they were mighty impressed. Anyway, I was teaching at Harvard. That was another big plus. And so when the suit was to be replied, they prepared a reply, and the first hearing took place. And it was Indian National Congress Overseas versus, Arish Sahni and Kataria, etc. And so the lady judge, the first question she asked is, who's defamed here? So the Congress people said, Sonia Gandhi, our most respected leader. Now she said, leave all that. Who is Miss Sonia Gandhi? Tell me. So he said that she is the president of the Congress party in India. Then why is she not here? So the Congress guys made the mistake of saying she's a very busy lady, she's a top national leader and all that, she can't come. So this lady judge said, oh my God, I am nobody. I'm just an ordinary judge of the High Court in New York, and I don't count for anything. But some Sonia Gandhi is the queen of the world, and I have to forgive her absence from my court. Dismissed. That's how the whole thing got out. So we saved a lot of litigation on that basis.
The irony, Dr. Sawmy, right now is yesterday's, apparently Sonia has sent out a letter of advising the PM about the economy, and I just fell off my chair. This lady who not even pass probably 5th grade.
Have you seen my reply?
Yeah, I saw your reply, but I'm just shocked. What is this?
She doesn't even know ABC or economics, and the person who ghostwritten that letter also doesn't know ABC or economics. That's all right. It's what's called the conversation between the deaf.
Jagdishji, please proceed. Thank you.
Yeah, with this, we come to an end of another very interesting episode, which you just heard. Our program got extended for past 1 hour because our viewers very keen, and we were getting messages, don't stop this program, please carry on. And we have had a record viewership. We will have the records for tomorrow. But Dr. Sawmy, I must thank you. This was a very interesting session, and my colleagues, we did not have to much ask you any question. You gave us a full load of information for our viewers, and so this is what is Edviga Albina Antonio Maino for the people of India. You have been bravely since the last more than a decade, without security, without fear or favor, being opposing her. Many people make some noises or pretend to be opposed to her, but really speaking, nothing great has happened. And so it is really very daring and dashing of you to expose such anti-nationals in our country. So with this, we end today's program. I wish to remind viewers.
Before you end up, शेर याद आ रहा है, मैं डॉक्टर स्वामी के लिए बता दूं, वो ये है कि कुछ लोग तो खामोश हैं हंगामा मचाकर, मैं चीखता रहूंगा इनकलाब के लिए.
वाह वाह, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अरविंद जी. So with this we end today's program, but I wish to tell our viewers that again tomorrow, Sunday, the 26th of April, we have another interesting episode which will be featuring Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Dr. Sawmy and General Bakshi, who has written extensively on Subhash Chandra Bose. Will discuss the issue tomorrow at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So I request our viewers, please keep in tune. We are coming up with interesting programs and editions. And let me tell our viewers that we are available daily live on YouTube, VIRAT Hindustan Sangham channel, Then we are available on Facebook Live. We are available on Twitter, Periscope at the handle of Dr. Subramanian Sawmy @Swami39. And we are available on Instagram, that is Dr. Swami 39. So we are available on these 4 social media channels, and many of our friends and associates are also relaying this on their own social media channels. So with this, we'll end this today's program, which is extended for more than an hour, and reminding our viewers to watch us again tomorrow on another interesting episode with General Bakshi and Dr. Sawmy on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, 8 p.m. Indian time, on our show Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga with Dr. Subramanian Sawmy. Thank you, Dhanyavad, or Jai Hind.